There are a lot of great reasons to put video on your website. It could be because you want to teach a lesson. Maybe you want to share something about yourself or your business. Maybe you just have something important that you found someplace else that you want to share. All perfect things. But there are a few problems with putting video on WordPress. YouTube and Vimeo embeds send your traffic to competitors. If you have a student, you have no idea if they finished a lesson. If they're interested in something at minute 3, there's no way to catch that moment. You don't have analytics that show you what's going on. Well, there's a new product now called FluentPlayer, and it fixes all 3 of these problems. I'm going to show you how. So built by WP Managed Ninja, the same team that brought you FluentCRM, Fluent Forms, FluentCart, all those products, built this. Video has always sat kind of the outside of your stack until now. Other products would render the content, but they would never talk to your other tools. FluentPlayer does. It'll integrate with FluentCRM. It works great with FluentCommunity. So we're going to go over some of those examples. And that's what's important, is not only that you're presenting something for people to watch, but you're getting some information and some other capabilities as they're watching it. Let's start first with installing the basic player. Like most products from WP Managed Ninja, FluentPlayer has a free version that's in the WordPress repository. And then there's also a premium version. We're going to start looking at the free version, and then we'll go ahead and see what you can do after you upgrade to the pro version. So we'll come over here to plugins, add plugin. We'll come over here to search and type in FluentPlayer. You can see it right here. Let's go ahead and install that. All right, so you can see we have FluentPlayer right over here. So it shows media and settings. We'll click on settings and see what's available just with a free tier. And you get quite a lot just with the free tier. I think this is definitely much better than just using the default embed a WordPress, with a shortcode on your pages and posts. So you've got a few different types of players. And you can see some of these are going to be pro features. But let's stick here with the modern one. You can choose your aspect ratio. In most cases, it's going to be wide, 16:9. But notice they've also got options down here for 1:1 or tall. If you're into things more like reels or shorts, then you've got an option for that as well. So I'm going to stick with the wide, 16:9. Now, there are some things that are pro features. It'll give you a notice back over here. So auto resume playback. For example, if your users leave and then come back, it'll remember where they were and let them play back from that point. And custom CSS. So that's kind of what we can do from here. I'm going to just click save. We'll go down to branding, and you can change this to your brand colors if you want to. So you see right now, red is the color of this bar over here, and also the color of the play button. If you've got your own settings that you want to do, well, you can replace that. And this control bar over here is this kind of gray area down here. So you can set those colors as well. And there's a play button background color. So you can see that it's kind of this off-white color right here. And if you want to upload a logo, you can go ahead and do that. Let me save those settings. And you can barely see it over here, but there's my little SP logo. Now, something to keep in mind if you're going to upload a logo is how is it going to show depending on the color of your video. So you can see if it's dark and I've got a dark character in there, well, it doesn't show up very well. The P for the SP on my logo shows up, but the S doesn't. So it's kind of depending on what's going to be the background of your videos. And then you can have this link to your website or to any URL that you want to. So if somebody were to click on this logo, it'll be right there. If you want to change it around, top right, top left, that gives you a few options there. And then you can, of course, determine the width. It defaults to 24 pixels, so I'll leave it there. Let's take a look at integrations. FluentCRM, if you have that, it'll work. All of the other integrations are not available. Now, you're going to find that there are 2 other integrations when we get to the pro version. There'll be webhooks and an integration with MailChimp. So if you're not worried about that, again, you may still be good with just the free version. For storage, this is something where you need the pro version. And that's why I'm really going to recommend the pro version. I use BunnyStream. There's also another one called Mux. You can still embed things like YouTube videos or Vimeo videos using this version. So storage is if you want to use a different system besides those hosts. So for YouTube, there's a privacy enhanced mode, and this way YouTube won't store information about visitors on your websites unless they play the video. And then if you want to show your subscribe button, you can click this and show that below the videos. The analytics are going to be where you can find out more information about these things, you know, the viewer analytics, watch time tracking, engagement, and so forth, geographic information. I won't go down the whole list. We're going to install the Pro version later, and we'll come back to this. And then you've got an option to export email submissions that are stored here. You can do it as CSV, JSON, or ODS. All right, so you notice that we have these settings over here. Inside of this, we've also got our media. Let's go ahead and save and continue because clearly I missed something. If you want to add some media, you can do that. This would store, I believe, locally, since you can't set up anything on an external host yet. So I wouldn't do this with the free version. Playlists, well, that's also another pro feature. But think about what you can do with playlists. Maybe you have a series of videos, maybe they're lessons in a course. You can create playlists for that. And then your analytics will be another pro feature. So these are options. Basically, with the free version, you can embed YouTube and Vimeo. So we'll go over here to all pages. I'm going to add a page, and we'll just call this FluentPlayer Test. Now, in order to get to FluentPlayer, click the / key and type in Fluent, and you can see it there. Another way, maybe to open this up and click the plus button, and you can search for FluentPlayer here. So you can see FluentPlayer. So there's a couple of different ways that you can get to installing it. Now, you've got options of what kind of media are you going to put in. So something from your library, YouTube, Vimeo. You can see that we're grayed out for BunnyStream and Mux. And then there's also audio. So you can play audio with this as well, but it needs to be in your library. One of the things I've kind of requested, and I hope that it may show up in a future release, would be to use a URL. So for example, if you have a podcasting host and they give you a URL, it would be really nice if you could play that URL for your audio. Do you have existing media? Well, I don't. This works nicely, for example, like if BunnyStream, it'll actually work with the collections you have. But for right now, we're just going to click on YouTube, and I'm going to get a YouTube video. We'll paste it in here. Okay, so let's say that this is one of my recent videos. I'm going to click on this.
If you use FluentCRM,
Yep,
you've probably seen the resend to unopened,
I think. And I'm going to go over here, get this URL, and we'll go ahead and put that in. We'll come back over here, click inside, paste the URL, add YouTube video, and you see it's putting it right in there. I'm going to go ahead and publish this. We'll view the page. And there it is. So there's a subscribe button that I've set forth. And I can just go ahead and start click.
if you use FluentCRM,
It's that easy. All right, so this is a good example of what you can get with the free version. But I have a lot of fun using the pro version of the WP Manage Ninja tools. So I'm going to go ahead and install that next. So I've added my pro version. We'll click Install Now and activate it. So you can see it changed from FluentPlayer to FluentPlayer Pro. Now you see we've got a few more options: media, playlists, analytics, and settings. We're still going to go back to settings because one of the first things that you need to do is put in your licensing. So I'll put my license key in here. No peeking. And I'll activate my license. Okay, I'm active. Now let's go back down and take a look. So all these settings that we had before are the same, but now we can choose to click this if you want to enable auto resume playback. If you want to put in some custom CSS, there's your spot to do it. And I probably don't know if I have to save this every time I change this, but I'm kind of a safety conscious thing. I do anyways. So when we look over here, you've got an option down here to show a powered by FluentPlayer branding. If you put this on, it'll show obviously powered by FluentPlayer. Typically that's done for affiliates. And that way, if you're an affiliate, you connect your account to that and somebody clicks it where it says powered by. If they buy it, then you may earn a commission off of that. So it just kind of shows the credit in here. So I'm going to turn that off right now. Now let's go back to the integrations. Okay, so we've got other things. FluentCRM, which is enabled because I've got that installed on this site. Webhooks, you may want to use this if you need to share a webhook to something else. So for example, the integration with FluentCRM, it's native. It doesn't have to go across Zapier or any other tools to get to a different service like MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or Kit.com. You may want to send that information to your CRM using a webhook. So you could configure this, enable the integration, and click Add a Webhook. And it's going to ask you for a name, the request URL that you get from the other site, and it'll give you a choice between get, post, or put. The idea is something else is giving you a webhook so it's ready to receive information. This will push the information out to it. And then you can go ahead and put in your email field name, which by default for most products is email. And you can add other headers. So if you need to add more values, it gives you a chance to build it that way. So we'll save this. Now we've got storage options. So we've got Bunny CDN Stream and Bunny CDN Storage and Mux. I haven't used Mux before. There's a lot of good publicity around it. People were asking for this while the product was in beta, and they added it in. So I'm kind of curious to try that one out. I do use BunnyStream. So let me go ahead and configure that. I'm going to enable the integration. And all you need is to put in your API key. If you're ever unsure what you need to do, you'll usually see something here for view setup instructions, and it'll tell you what you need to do and give you the links where you need to go. So let me go ahead and get my API key, and I'll plug that in. All right, so I'm on my dashboard for Bunny. What I do is I come up to my profile. You'll see API key. We'll click that, and it'll just give me an option right here. So all I have to do is, I don't even have to look at it. I can copy that. I'll come over here and put it in right there. And you can show it if you want to. I'm not going to show mine. And we'll click on Test Connection. Success. So everything's good. So I can save that. And we'll take a look at that. So if I click on Media now, and then that should give me the option to see now I've got my BunnyStream. So I can click on BunnyStream. I can select the library that I want to use. And you can click in these folders, and then you can find videos for what's happening in the courses. And you can just kind of select one and add it just like that. So very easy, very simple. And that way I've just added this from my BunnyNet streaming service. You can create playlists, which this is a test server. I haven't created anything there. And then you can see some analytics. You've got to turn that on, so you'll enable the analytics. This is important. Auto cleanup analytics data, and it's defaulting to 30 days. You don't want analytics data to grow so large that it starts bogging down your database and slowing down your site. So by default, you do want to clean this up. If you want to look at a longer period, that's fine. Maybe if you want to see the last 3 months, you might change this to 90 days and then update that. You can also use Google Analytics if you've got something for that. If you've got a tag already on your page, you can use that. I don't have one for this site since, as I said, it's just a test site. So what is this going to look like on a real site? Well, let me show you. All right, so this is my FluentPlayer. Now, if this looks a little bit different, that's because I've got a free version of software from WP Managed Ninja called Fluent Hub. And you can see that it combines a few different tools. So I've got Fluent Forms, Ninja Tables, Fluent SMTP for this, and then the media player you can see down here. So if I click on Analytics, not much on here right now because I just added that video that I showed you at the beginning. And I'm going to show you a little bit more detail about that one. But it'll let you know performance over time, how many people have looked at it. So a couple of people looked at the self-hosted video. There are 2 clicks on each one. And audience retention, you can see, as it goes on, how many people are watching and where they get to at the end. So 5 minutes, which is the full length of the video, my retention is only 33% of where it started. That's going to depend on the message you have and the person who's watching it. So you're never going to get everything perfect. Now, if they are people you know, it'll show you. Obviously, it knows me. And it'll tell you who new viewers are. In this case, since I just added a video yesterday, everybody's going to be new. and it shows that video that's on my homepage. Now, one of the things that I really like about this that we haven't looked at yet is what you can do with the Pro version beyond what we just saw in the settings. And that happens kind of with the part that we saw earlier. So we click on this block.
If you use
open up our blocks over here, and tell myself to shut up. Now, suddenly, you've got a lot more flexibility. So if you're branding, you can use custom branding per video. So you can turn that on. You can change your logo. Remember what I talked about if you have a light logo versus a dark logo? If you want to change that versus the video that you're doing, maybe you have a light mode and a dark mode logo or different colors that'll show some contrast. So you can upload that per video. You can change your brand colors per video. So that can be very helpful just to kind of blend in the view that you want. So let's close that down. General settings, you're going to see a title overlay, which is, there's my title that I've got on this. You can add a thumbnail, change it, change your aspect ratio. The load strategy is one you want to think about. It's like, is it going to play on click, on play click, skip video in editor? Now, one of the things that you may want to think about is your performance. And also, do you want it to start auto-playing after the page loads, immediately, when scrolled into view? All these things could potentially affect your load time. I kind of like to let it wait for on play click. So in other words, when somebody clicks it, that's when they're ready to watch it. There may be people who come to my site that don't want a video starting off right away. It does grab their attention, but it also might be a nuisance to some people. These are choices that you're going to end up making for yourself. Do you want it to go autoplay with sound or muted? You've got options there. So I've got mine set by the default, no autoplay. You want to play it inline on mobile. So for your mobile devices, that's a good one. And we talked about this before. Remember the playback position. I like to turn this on. So if somebody gets distracted, they leave, they come back, it remembers where they were playing the video and they can pick up where they left off rather than having to start from the beginning and maybe try to scrub the timeline to get where they want to. And at the end of the screen, what do you want them to do? Do you want it to loop back and start playing again? Do you want to show a thumbnail? You got options there. So also you have presets, you have the default, modern, and all of these other ones that were pro features are now available to you. So you can change these around. And as I click it, you can see there are some subtle changes to the video player. Do you want to add chapters? Well, you can do that. You can add a start time, how long does it go, and enter a chapter title. And once you've done that, you can add another chapter. So you can segment your video into time sections. You want text overlay buttons. So this and the interactive layers are where we really start to get into some fun things. Let me go back to my main site. I'm going to show you an example of what you can do with this. So this is where I kind of introduce people to what Suburbia Press is about. At the very end of it,
Hi,
there's a form. It follows up with a 7 or 8 email sequence that walks you through exactly how this architecture matters and how it changes everything. Let's build infrastructure that actually works for you. And there you go. Now I've got a place for a lead magnet. I brought it up in the video. I don't have to have a button underneath. It just pops up right on the screen. All I've got to do is enter their name, their email address, and click download now. Now what's happening on this particular version is I've got Fluent Forms already set up and configured for this lead magnet offer. So I can embed Fluent Forms and put it right here. Now I've got it at the end of the video. You don't have to put it at the end of the video. You can put this anywhere you want. And you can do it a couple of ways. You can make the offer, and if they don't want it, they can click skip, and you can determine if they get that or not. But also, you can use that as a gateway that they can watch the video up to the point where that offer comes up, and then if they enter their email address, well, that's a good lead magnet, so they can continue watching the rest of the video. And then, of course, you get all that information. So how did this work? I'm going to show you. So this is the edit of my homepage.
I'm William
I'm going
Bean
to
with
click on
Suburbia
this.
Press.
And I talk a little too much, but that's okay. We're going to take a look at interactive layers. And this is where I've got, get the architectural risk assessment. So if I edit this, you're going to see that I've got an option. When do I display it? Well, in this case, I wanted it to display at the end of the video. So that's, 5 minutes, 12 seconds. What is the content? that is this PDF, get the architectural risk assessment for free, and then what form do I want to send? It knows Fluent Forms that's on the same site, so it tells me which one do I want to. And then you've got options of where you can place this. So I've just simply decided in the center. And then you can kind of choose if you want to scale up or scale down the height and the width. Now, controls. You notice I had skip enabled. So if you want to allow somebody to skip, you can toggle this and let them do it. If you want to stop them dead, that they've got to enter this before they can go anyplace else, you can just disable that. You can choose your color. So for my background, I've got one of my brand colors, and the text is also one of my brand colors. Then there's some conditions. So let's click this. And then you can start adding rules. So we can look and see the viewer is logged in, email was submitted. You can have a query parameter. The layer has been seen, the layer is completed. And all of those things are little triggers that you can look for from how they interacted with this layer. I'm going to cancel this because I don't want to update my production site. But think about that. If we come over here back to my development server, if you want to add a text overlay, you can say, where do I want this to be? Let's say I want this to be within 3 seconds. And what is the content going to be? I'm going to put in an overlay, and I'll just put on a hash right there. But basically, this is now a clickable link right on your video. You can send them anywhere you want to go with a clickable link on your video. And then, of course, you've got your options. It's going to be top left, top right, or bottom left or right. You want to have a dynamic position? Well, you can do that as well, too. Do you want it to fade in? Do you want it to be instant? Do you want it to slide in? Kind of like fade. But that's just more of your options. And then, of course, you can do your appearance. What's your background color going to be? What is your text color going to be? And then you click Add Overlay, and it'll put it right there on your video. The interactive layers, you get a bit more, I think, capability here. So you've got all sorts of things, forms, call to action, hotspots, ads, shortcodes. I used Fluent Forms on that example on the Suburbia Press homepage. So we know what that looks like. You just go ahead and choose which one is it going to be. There it is, select form, it's right down there. But if you don't want to use this one, let's scroll back up. We'll click this arrow. And let's take a look at call to action. So now you can see it puts a button over here. Again, you can always select the time where this appears. And what is the completion type? Whether it's clicked, auto dismissed, skipped, you've got your options. What is your content going to be? You've got a nice little builder over here where you can put whatever you want. So this is kind of hard to read because its position is on this white graphic that I have. You can add media to it. So in other words, you can kind of dress this up. And then this is the button. So instead of learn more, there you go. For all the people who are in business, earn more. And your controls, again, by default, allow skip is there. And you can change the appearance. And the same as the other one, the conditions, you can add some rules from these options that you see down here. Now, there's a few others on this one that are not present on the other. So you can see was an email submitted. Is the viewer in a CRM list, a tag? Is a viewer a contact? Is the viewer logged in? So take a look at the difference between what you see with the text overlays and these. So the interactive layers are a little bit different for the conditions than you have for the text buttons. We talk about timed content. Take a look in the block beneath it. This is timed content. So we can determine when and where something else is going to show up. So we can add content beneath it, and we can choose where is it going to begin and where is it going to end. So you can see this kind of like two sliders over here. So maybe this shows up at, let's make this easy on myself. Let's say 10 seconds, and it shows up for 1 minute. We'll click that. All right, so that's good. Now, what happens? Well, what do you want to happen? You've got a block editor down here. So you can click the plus bar, and anything that's in here, you can add. So all of these blocks, if I had any patterns, I'd put these over here. But you could put anything in there that's within these blocks and patterns. So I put in a heading over here, And let's say that I want to put in a button. So let's just do buttons. So basically this timed content could be that you make an offer and they've only got so much time to buy a deal. It's kind of a way of putting in some emphasis to motivate them to take action now. All right, so we're playing along. After I get to a certain point, then we're going to see the timed area show up right here. And this will show until I hit the 1 minute mark. But basically, if you want something to happen, the timed content area will let you put something down here. You can have more than one timed content area. So if we come back over here, we can still add more content. And then you can set a completely different time range and add yet another content area. So that is something that is really handy and helpful. I've got a client who, for example, wants to make an offer to people. He wants them to go to a web page, and he's got a plugin called Hurry Timer, and it gives them 15 minutes from when they get to that page to make a decision to buy. Well, now he could do the same thing with this and also have his video letting them know something that gives them a bit more information. They can see the timed content area. Then he gives them the same thing. It's like, we got 15 minutes. But that timed content area is a little different than a Hurry Timer, I think, because this video is only available for 5 minutes. I haven't actually tested it yet to see if the timed content area will continue or allow you to continue beyond the length of the video. And I don't know. This video is 9 minutes and 46 seconds long, so it doesn't look like you can have the timed content area go beyond the length of the video. But if you want to give them a quick option and you've got a video on there, for all I know, if you want to make this last for 15 minutes, you could do the video a clock countdown and then show the timed content area. And then when the clock expires, the video ends, so does the timed content area. Do you want to add tags? I don't have any tags on this site, but if you've got your FluentCRM installed, you can add some tags. When people watch this, maybe you want to do a history tag, say history, watched such and such video. If you do more than one language, I don't, you can enable multi-language, and then you can determine there's a number of different languages over here. Now, granted, you need to have the information available in the video for which language they choose. It'll detect the language of the person who comes to the site, and then you can show them, is it going to be English, Arabic, Bengali, and so on down the line. So for those of you who are working with an audience that's maybe multicultural, that could be a useful feature as well too. And if you want to add an additional language, you've got an option right here to add a new language. And then you select the video that goes with it. Subtitles, very simple and easy. You can go ahead and upload. So if you've got a VTT or an SRT, I kind of tend to use the SRT video captions myself. So I'll put those in there. Then you can go ahead and upload that. You can do a hover and preview, and you can generate that. Timestamp links. So if you want to put in a timestamp shortcode, we can do that as well too. And advanced is usually CSS. So if you want to put in some advanced CSS, if you want to do some display conditions, we can add a display condition. So give it a name. What's the category going to be? We don't have any categories. And we'll just go ahead and click on that. Be honest with you, I haven't tried the display conditions yet. I usually don't mess with the advanced features because it's typically CSS. So I'll save that. But that kind of gives you an idea of what's available in the blocks when you get to the Pro version. You've got a lot more customization that you can do. You have a lot more features. You can work with other offsite storage, and it really is kind of a nice thing. Those interactive layers give you a soft capture for building your email list. There's a hard gate where the playback stops until the viewer subscribes. You've got a call to action button. Also, there's the very simple YouTube subscribe button. So if you click on that, it'll take you to your YouTube page and they can subscribe there. So you've seen what the landing page looks like inside of here with FluentCRM with tags applied. This is one of the real benefits of having the architecture with the Fluent ecosystem, because these products work together. You can have that information sent to FluentCRM when somebody watches your video. You can have that sent to FluentCRM when somebody fills out that form. It can kick off an automation. You can then start sending them emails. You might have an email sequence saying, thank you for watching the video, and then have a follow-up. Walk through what your site is about, what you offer. This works with FluentBooking. It works with FluentCommunity. Matter of fact, we haven't looked at FluentCommunity yet, so let me do a quick look at that. All right, so this is the Suburbia Press community. This is going to be opening up for the public pretty soon. If I want to create a post, I can say whatever title. Over here, now there's always been this thing where you can embed a YouTube video or Vimeo, something like that, or you could put in custom HTML code. This is a bit of a pain. If I get something from my site over here on BunnyStreaming, I can click on this, and then they give you this little copy and paste. So let me show you what I had to do for my previous courses. I would paste this in here, but then I had to come over and take out the div. So there's one at the end, obviously, and then there's one at the beginning. All I want is what's in the iframe, but that's not it. There's also this section down here where it says absolute. That's because by default, BunnyStream shows it in absolute size. Well, I want a relative size. So I had to come in here and type in relative, and then I could embed that, and the video would be in here. So if I resized the screen or looked at it on mobile, it would show the right size. Otherwise, it would be the wrong size for the screen. So let's take a look at some of our courses. I'm going to go down to settings, leave this page, and I want to manage courses. Let's add a course. So I've got add a section, and then now when I get in here, I can add a new lesson, and then I can go in /FluentPlayer, or you can put in a playlist. So this is really handy. And then you've got the same thing where you can go ahead and pull in from wherever your media library is, and I'll choose this folder, and I'll just grab the first one here. And that way I've got media for a lesson right there. Before, if I wanted to do this, I had to come over here to the lesson area, click add media, and I had the same thing that I just showed you before. Is do you want to put in this code that I get from BunnyStream, paste it in there, remove the divs, and then edit the absolute to relative. I had to do that for every lesson I've done. No more. Now I can use FluentPlayer just very quickly and easily, put that inside the editor. I can place it where I want to. So rather than absolutely having to be at the top or the bottom, I could put some text above or some images or anything else I want to. This is a Gutenberg editor, so I've got access to anything else that I want to put in here that's available. So I want a stretchy paragraph or heading. I've got all these options that I can put in. So that's just something that you can keep in mind if you're using FluentCommunity. So we kind of briefly touched on the analytics, and on this particular dev site, I've got two views. I can see just one unique viewer, so it's me watching both times. Average watch time, completion rate, and you can see what your scale is going up. And device distribution, so for desktop, I've got two. If I had any from mobile, it would show me that as well too. And where are they from? So I'm coming from the United States. There's my retention time for the time that I looked at. And it knows me since I'm logged in, and it knows which media I looked at. So this gives us a chance. Do you have new viewers? Do you have returning viewers? So that gives you a little bit of information about the analytics that are available here. So this is something that you never had before. If you just embedded a YouTube video, you didn't know what happened. You could look at some YouTube analytics, but you don't know what came from different sources on YouTube. This is information about videos on your site. So that kind of gives you a little bit of helpful information. Now, there is another popular player out there. It's called Presto Player. I've owned this. I've used this. I stopped using it, even though I have a lifetime license to it, because quite honestly, I found it was unreliable. I would post a video, and then I'd come back a little later. I'd look at the page and say, my video's not there. I've got an error message instead. Videos would silently stop working after publishing. I don't know why. This FluentPlayer version, I've been working with it in beta for close to 4 months. I have never had a problem. I ran it in beta, no issues whatsoever. That's why I'm very comfortable recommending it now. Now, Presto Player wins on native podcast support. Right now, we don't have podcast support inside of FluentPlayer. I am lobbying. I hope that one day we get that, and you never know what's going to show up. One thing about products from WP Managed Ninja, They're always being enhanced. They listen to their customers. If enough people ask for something, usually they'll do it. For example, when I talked about media, before it was even released, people were asking for Mux. If you're going to click and add media, so Mux and Mux Live, I'd never heard of these players. I want to check them out now, but they added that based on feedback from the customers. So that's why I am positive that there will be other features coming in. In fact, I know they're already looking at a feature in a couple of days to work with a plugin called LearnDash. If you're doing a course with LearnDash, then you'll probably see that coming out pretty soon too. So who is this for? Well, it's for course creators tracking completion. It's for marketers and coaches for catching leads mid-video or at the end. It's for membership sites gating after content. So you've got a number of things that you can do. If you're working with FluentBooking, maybe you want to give somebody a video so they know what they're getting into, what the terms are of your consulting areas, and then you present them with a form or something else or lead them to your booking site. So what's it going to cost you? Personal for one site, lifetime deal is going to be $199. You'll get support for the lifetime of the product. You won't have to pay anything ever again. So for one site, all features, all future updates, all priority support. There's a freelancer version for 5 sites, one-time payment, $399. And then there's a studio version for 15 sites for $599. And that comes out to, you can see the pricing. It's $39.93 per site. Over here on the freelancer, it's $79.80 per site. So the price per site goes down as you buy bundles. There's also an agency version for 50 sites for $799, and you can pay that monthly for $99 a month for 8 months, or you can make a one-time payment for $799. How long until the lifetime offer expires? I have no idea. There are some products that had a lifetime offer, like FluentCRM. They don't have it now, and I suspect they will never have it again. Others still have it. Like, for example, FluentCart still has a lifetime offer. So I would urge you, if you're interested, go take a look. If this is what works for you, then please go ahead and get yourself a copy. With that in mind, I've got an affiliate link below. You'll see it down there. It'll go to suburbiapress.com/FluentPlayer, and that will not cost you anything additional, but it does give me a small commission, which helps me keep the lights on here. So I just want to disclose that's an affiliate link. If you have questions, please let me know inside the comments below, and I'll see you again in the next video.